I told you that limiting beliefs do not exist? I did not remove my makeup yesterday, so I'm sorry if there's like weird things on here. So you're gonna be like, what is this crazy biatch saying that there's no limiting beliefs? There's been books written about it, how to overcome your limiting beliefs, your negative beliefs, your inner critic, blah, 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 blah. And I'm gonna tell you something that I realized last week, because everything that I talk about on this channel is things that I just randomly will have like moments of like, wow. So why do I say that limiting beliefs do not exist? Because you're gonna be like, yeah, but I've had this limiting belief, so I know that it exists. Yes and no. So the thing is, it's not a limiting belief you have, it's a protecting belief you have. And why is it important that you call it differently? Because you're gonna be like, what the fuck does it matter if I call it limiting or protective or this or this or that? I feel like all my life, when I've tried to like overcome my limiting beliefs or like let them go or whatever you want to call it, I've always had this super big resistance, or I've always like had a big issue with letting them go, or a big issue about like overcoming them, or it was just like complicated in general to overcome them, and I never really understood why. But I figured out that how you call something is how you relate to that thing. So if you call something limiting, you relate to it maybe in a more negative way, and if you call it protective, you relate to it in a more positive way. You know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going with this? And I feel like limiting beliefs is a word that's like super simple, and you might think that this is like the stupidest thing ever. Like, I will not blame you. This is just like one of those like things that I think is like super cool. You don't have to think the same way I do. You can leave this video if you don't agree with this. But I think that the way that we talk to things, or the way that we name things, is the way that we relate to them. And through that, you can see if you have like a more positive or a more negative relationship to something. And if it's a negative relationship, it's usually like also attached to negative emotions. For example, if you think about your limiting belief, you're gonna be like, oh, this is like my limiting belief's fault because I could be like a billionaire right now, but I'm not because I have this limiting belief around money. And you get this resentment, this anger, and all these things towards this belief that even though like you know that it was just ingrained in you when you were put into you while you were growing up, and you learned it through someone, and you know that it's not your fault, you still kind of hate it because it's a part of you, and you need to accept that part of you. And I feel like it's way easier to accept something from you if you see it in a positive light, if you see it from like a gratitude perspective of like, okay, this belief existed and was there and was ingrained in me because it was here to protect me from something. And I learned this probably because I wanted to protect myself from something. So like if your family, for example, had a lot of money issues, you probably learned the protective belief of like, oh, money brings up issues, so I'm not gonna have money. So this is your way, your brain's way of protecting you from being in distress, for being in situations that you're not comfortable in. And I feel like seeing it that way, seeing your brain in that way, it's just like, it allows for more compassion, it allows for more empathy towards yourself, and towards being like, okay, maybe I'm not overcoming this belief now, maybe it's gonna take me a while to overcome this belief, but I know why it's there, and I see it had a value, like it had a purpose back then. Because seeing it as a limiting belief is like, oh no, all of this is like limiting my growth and not allowing me to become like famous and rich and all of these things that I want to become. No. You have to see it as like an overprotective parent that doesn't know any better and that's just trying to do what it thinks is best for you. That reframing the way that you think about your limiting beliefs and seeing them as protective beliefs is gonna help you let go of them way faster, because you can start doing, because you have to see all of this as like you being in a relation, like in a child-parent relationship with yourself. Like you have that protective belief and you are the child. Whenever that protective belief comes in, it's like this child version of you that's just like scared and just like wants to be held safe. And you, as a person who already knows that that belief is like actually not useful anymore, kind of like re-educate your child and be like, hey, it's fine to be abundant. There's nothing wrong with being abundant. There's nothing unsafe with being abundant. And this brings me to the next thing. And is a lot of people say that self-sabotage, and it's that self-sabotage at the end of the day, it's not that you hate yourself so much that you want to sabotage and you don't want to allow yourself to be rich or famous or whatever it is that you want to manifest. It's your way, it's your brain's way to keep you safe. It's your brain's way of like, it's not self-sabotage, it's keeping you safe. That's another thing. Like, don't think of yourself as like sabotaging. You're not sabotaging yourself, you're keeping yourself safe. It's exactly the same thing, seen from like two different perspectives. See things from the positive one. Because if every time that you're gonna go out there and face one of your self-sabotaging or limiting beliefs, you can talk yourself with a more compassionate way if you see it as like, okay, this is my brain trying to keep me safe. This is my brain thinking like, okay, every time I've been in this situation, this is what's happened. I don't like this happening, so I'm just gonna self-sabotage. Let's say you've been in a series of like bad relationships, or you had a bad relationship with your parents, which has like mirrored and reflected in all your partner relationships. So now every time that you feel maybe your partner is pulling away a little bit, you're like, oh no, they're gonna leave me. You just assume that because you're used to that. So your self-sabotage, what's your self-sabotage gonna do? What's your limiting belief gonna do? It's gonna be like, oh no, let me retreat. Let me just like stop talking to them. Let me just like break up with them first because like I don't wanna face this. So in any of these situations, you have to see how your brain is trying to keep you safe, how your spirit, your ego, whatever you want to call it, is trying to keep you safe. And train it to see safety as something new. Like safety, the new safety for you is going to be outside of your comfort zone. But right now for you, for your ego, safety is within your comfort zone and it doesn't want to leave that. And it's going to do everything it can so that you don't leave your comfort zone. But by you reframing the way that you see these things, instead of seeing them as something negative and you kind of like fighting, like, oh no, I need to fight my negative beliefs. I need to fight my limiting beliefs. I need to like kill them and like annihilate them, because I feel like that's, at least for me, it's the reaction that I've had whenever I think about them, because the word limiting beliefs is just like so negative. I don't like it. I just realized it now, like last week, that I don't like this word. And the moment I started seeing it as a protective belief, I was like, oh, this is my brain just trying to protect me. So like, I'm not gonna get upset. I'm not gonna get mad. And even if like that belief still like has some kind of like reaction or some kind of impact in my life, and I still act in like the old way, I'm gonna have compassion towards it. You know why? Because that's how you wanna let it go. Every time this old belief comes up, it's not a bad thing. It's not like, oh, I haven't learned anything, because maybe you spent like a few months like getting better and getting out of your comfort zone and this and this and that, and then one day you kind of relapse. It's not a relapse. I feel like what people consider to be relapses is like chances for your body to like get all that old energy out, you know, and just like for you to process the emotions that need to be processed. Because sometimes you will have to go through the same thing again and kind of like make the same mistake again, even though it's not the same mistake, because like it's doing the mistake but in a different situation. And if you're doing it again, it's not because like you're stupid. No, it's not because of that. It's because you needed to do it again for some emotions to come up and for you to deal with those emotions. And the moment you deal with them, you're gonna see that you're not gonna make that mistake again, or you're gonna make it in different areas for you to like still release. Because at the end of the day, healing is a constant process of just like going through the same thing over and over again, and every time getting a bit better at it. It's not like one day I fix this, I'm never ever again gonna go through this. No, that's not how it works. It's a matter of having compassion towards yourself and doing all of these things with love, because the more love you can extend towards yourself, the more you're gonna be able to go through all these things so easily and so effortlessly, because it's just gonna happen naturally. If you fight it, if you see all these things as like negative and like the world is evil, the world programmed me to be this monster and this and this and that, no, your brain decided this. Which brings me to another thing. I think that seeing limiting beliefs as limiting beliefs also kind of puts the blame on like, oh no, because my parents were like this, I adopted this limiting beliefs because it's their limiting beliefs, blah, blah, blah. And I've seen people who had parents with those limiting beliefs or protective beliefs, whatever you want to call it, and the children didn't have those beliefs. You know why? Because their brains didn't think that they needed to adopt those beliefs to protect them. So at the end of the day, it's your brain who decided on this. I feel like it also, like, it's not blaming yourself, it's just like taking responsibility for like what your brain did unconsciously, like while you were super young. So like it's not your fault, but it's like when I see families, like for example my family, we are 3 sisters who were raised super similarly, and all of us has a completely different set of limiting beliefs or protective beliefs. Why? Because we're all both different. Because even though we went through more or less the same things when it comes to like trauma, abuse, whatever, we all decided to adopt very different limiting beliefs. Like I adopted some protective beliefs that my sister has never even felt. And we've gone through basically the same things. Because all of our brains work differently, and all of our brains think like they need to protect us from completely different things. You know what I mean? So I feel like at the end of the day, it's even empowering to think about it this way. It's like the way that I am, the way that my brain is, even my unconscious brain while I was like 3 years old decided that this was safe and this was not safe. So I just need to like work with love and compassion and just allow my brain to kind of feel relaxed and be like, this is safe, and just like slowly start to build my relationship with safety again, where it feels like actually everything is safe. It was just an illusion that created this feeling that things were not safe. I hope all of this made sense. I hope I helped someone with this video. I just felt like I needed to share this, so I hope it's helpful. Let me know in the comments below if there's any other video of any other topic that you want, and I'll see you guys next week.